Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
More and more information keeps coming in that is fundamentally changing our initial views. There are studies suggesting children don't necessarily transmit the disease to other people. So was it right to shut down schools? There's some people speculating that this is a disease that mostly spreads in hospitals and nursing homes and very crowded, cramped places like public transit. So did we need to lock down so much of the economy?
That's a great question, Kimberly Strassel, Wall Street Journal editorial board. I don't know. Here's the thing. What do we know? Well, it's novel, so we don't know a lot. And at the same time, we're looking back and saying, what are the real numbers? What are the real numbers? And at the end of the day, we're never going to know the exact numbers, and there's a reason for that. Because maybe we're undercounting, maybe we're overcounting. That's always a possibility as well, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But as we get ready to reopen everything, Fauci, of course, today on the Hill doing his little thing, because we've got to make sure that this is all Trump's fault and that this could be another opportunity if he wins, that we impeach him. So let's make sure we do that, and that every death we're going to pin on him, even though we all know that's ridiculous. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. That is ridiculous. But you can't let politics get in the way, and neither side allows that to happen. But people are trying to figure out how to get their lives back. They're trying to figure out, what do we do from here? Fauci, on top of all of this stuff, testifying, he's also in the New York Times warning that reopening this early is going to be a major disaster.
I think there's a certain lack of humility out there of those who are saying lockdowns were the answer and all of these rules are the way forward, instead of admitting that there's still a lot we just don't know.
No. There's a lot we don't know. Like I say, we're not going to know for a long time. But one thing I do know is people are itching to try to get their lives back. Itching to get out there and get moving, itching to try to save whatever they possibly can when it comes to this. Because so many people I've talked to are in a situation that is just ugly. I have a lot of friends who are small business owners. Some of them have managed to survive. Few of them have thrived. And a lot of them are on the edge. They've exhausted their savings. They've dipped into their college funds for their kids. They've done everything they possibly can. And they're looking around saying, what are we going to do? And they're waiting for that next thing. What is the next thing? What happens when there's a spike? Because there's going to be a spike. You absolutely know there's going to be a spike. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. What I do know is people are over this. People are ready to try to start to fight back and get their lives going. And people understand now, okay, I'm under a certain age. I'm in pretty good health. The chances of me dying from this are slim to none. So let's get out there and get back at it. You've got states that aren't sure. You've got some states that are raring and rocking to go. You just don't know. And the thing is, you also don't know what's behind that. Meaning, if things go south, tests start to rise a little bit. You have clusters of area. We heard Mayor Garcetti yesterday in Los Angeles say, I have no hesitation. I'll shut it down again. You can't do that in an economy where you shut everything down. And then you've got the science behind it. Whose science do we believe? Is it this science? Is it that science? Is it you? You over here said we should shut everything down for 6-7 more months until we have a total handle on this and potentially a vaccine. You over here says we should open up partially and gradually for the next 6 months. You over here say there may never be sports again the way we used to. You over here said until we get a vaccine, life's going to be like this. And you over here said we should do nothing. Who am I supposed to believe? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program as well. Hope you're doing well on this Tuesday. It's crazy, for sure. All of that going on We've got the fun that is, yes, kids, more hearings. Because you got to have hearings. You got to. We're not through it, but you got to have hearings.
The American people need to hear from experts in a fair, open, and truthful setting. Until now, we've mostly heard from the members of the coronavirus task force through the distorted lens of the White House press conference, where the president often prevents them from answering fully. This will be one of the first opportunities for Dr. Fauci to tell the American people the unvarnished truth without the president lurking over his shoulder. Dr. Fauci, let it rip.
Let it rip. You're not interested in trying to find out what the truth is. You're interested in, when you say let it rip, to me it sounds like, let's get him. Now's the chance. We've got him. Hell, if they could figure out how to charge him for murder, they probably would. In the time of crisis, we don't need this tribalism. You want to have hearings? Knock yourself out afterwards. I got no problem with that. But when the average person's trying to figure out how to keep food on their table, how to keep that table, and how to keep the roof above the table in their lives, all the while trying to figure out also how to be a teacher and continue to try to do what they're doing business-wise, you want to sit down and play grab-ass politics. And I don't think people are really interested in that. I don't. I think people want to figure out, how do we get our lives back to some normalcy in the next several weeks? But you want to say, hey, let's do it. Let's let it rip. You got anything? Put a little spice on it. We're good with that. And it's funny because there's a great article out talking about the partisan tribalism on MSN. And it shows something about this. It says Democrats are more fearful. And this is a Monmouth University poll. So it says, how concerned are you about someone in your family getting seriously ill from the coronavirus? Democrats, 60%. Republicans, 25%. Independents, 38%. Somewhat concerned, 27% for both of them, 30% for independents. Not too concerned, 10%, 21% for Republicans, 12% for independents. Not concerned at all, 25% Republican, 19% independents, 3%. We were talking about this yesterday. The mask thing. The damn mask thing has become a partisan issue, for God's sakes. If you don't wear a mask, it's because you're a proud MAGA man, MAGA woman. If you do wear a mask, you're a frail little Democrat. No. Hell, I forget. Partly because my life's not changed as far as where I go. I don't go out. I never do. Minus a movie, and I haven't gone to a movie in months. I get here at 3:30 in the morning, leave at 6, 7 o'clock at night. By the time I get home, I'm not going to dinner. So not a lot's changed for me. But even the mask thing's become partisan. And in a time when we need leaders to stop bitching, whining, and moaning and talk about getting us on the path that we need to. And by the way, getting us on a path doesn't mean you save us. It means opening up and allowing people to live their lives and save themselves. Save themselves from the mess that this is. I don't blame the doctors for being uber concerned. I don't blame the doctors for doing the things that they believe is right. No chance do I blame any of them. Do I think we can go overboard? Yes, 100%. But the reality is, at this point in time, we've got to start asking ourselves, what happens next when there is a spike? Are you prepared to shut it down again? And what does it look like when people aren't prepared? What are states and cities going to do? How are they going to react? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. So I took my test. I took both tests to see if I had antibodies, which I don't, but I also don't have it. So that's good, I guess, right? Like I don't have it and I didn't have it. So that's kind of a bonus. And I asked him how long would the antibodies stay with me, and he's like, again, we're not too sure, but you would think 6 months to a year at least. So I said, okay, if I had this back in January, then this wouldn't be a big deal. It still would have been with me. He said, yeah. So he goes, you don't have it, and you've not had it. And I said, okay, there we go. Moving on with our lives. There you go. Moving on with our lives. It was nice because I got to get a test. A lot of people say they can't get a test. And I'm like, really? You can't get a test? I'm like, how hard is it? For some people, it's extremely hard. That's the testing side of things. It's not been the easiest. You think it would be. And even with the testing, it's not been like yesterday talking about, well, testing could be like 85% accurate. I'm like, could you imagine? There's 15% chance you're not pregnant. But there's also an 85% chance that you are. We're just going to have a sit and wait and see attitude. We'll see what happens. Maybe something falls out of you in 9 months. Maybe something doesn't. We'll go from there. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Saving money. I love doing that. Gabby, they're going to help me. Well, by that, I mean help me show you how you save money. And that's the best way to do it. So you've got homeowners insurance. You got car insurance. Are you getting everything out of it? Meaning, everything great? You sure you're paying the best rate? Well, maybe it's time to check out Gabby and see if you can get a lower rate on the exact same coverage. Saved me about $1,000 with my car insurance and everything over the year. That's awesome. That is amazing. It was like 150, it was like $75 a month, $80 a month total. And all I did was I went to Gabby.com and just plugged in all my information. They gave me apple to apples comparison on the coverage of 40 the top insurers. So Progressive, Nationwide, Travelers, just to name a few. And linked my accounts. My homeowners insurance, spot on. Slept well at night. Couldn't do anything better. My car insurance, ridiculously overpaid. Got cheaper coverage. The same coverage, too. Gabby customers save $825 per year on average. And if you can't find any of the savings, you can sleep well at night knowing, hey, I got everything I need. And they're never going to sell your info. There's no spam, robocalls, anything like that. It's totally free to check your rate. It takes about 2 minutes. And you can do it right now. That's what I want you to do. Go to Gabby.com/Benson, Gabi.com/Benson. Check your rate. Totally free. Takes about 2 minutes. Gabby.com/Benson. Gabby.com/Benson. Chad Benson Show.
Take it anymore! Well, get over it. It's time to forge a new path with your very own political cartographer, Chad.
It's obvious we need to reopen, but stupid rules threaten to wreck the recovery. Compulsory temperature checks, totally pointless. You'll miss most people with coronavirus and catch many who don't have it. Telling childcare facilities to use yarn to create 6-foot boxes for toddlers to stay in. Only 1 or 2 people allowed in an elevator at any one time. On and on it goes.
What did I see yesterday? It was Illinois. Like only 2 people allowed on a boat. Are you kidding? Are you being serious? Here's the way I view boats. If I'm on a boat, minus a cruise ship, but if I've been invited there or I have a boat, chances are I know the people getting on my boat. We're not talking about like a yacht or something. I know the people that are on the boat, and they know me. I'm not getting on a boat that holds 10 people, and I'm like, where did these 9 people show up? I've never met them. They just got on my boat. Like, that's the ridiculousness that we're finding nowadays. Like, that is like only 2 people allowed on your boat. Okay, that's dumb. Do you have other dumb ideas, or are we just, I'm sure you do. I'd love to hear them. Only 1 person allowed in the elevator. Okay. Only 1 person in a car. I'll have my child drive himself to school. It'll be fantastic. I'm just curious about the school thing. Because Jack is getting stuff like as they start to talk about reopening in California. And so Jack's getting all kinds of stuff like they're sending home. And maybe we'll go 3 days. And I was talking to my mom, like she's talking about like how are they going to social. How do you tell kids to social distance? Honestly, I'm curious. How are you going to tell kids to social distance? You're not. You're not going to tell them, don't go outside and play with your friends. It's recess. I want everybody to we're going to draw like circles. And each one of you can play inside of your own circle. Won't this be fun? You're going to set desks 6 feet apart? It doesn't affect children near as bad as the flu does. And based on several new studies, which, again, we can look at studies and go, I hear a lot of stuff when it comes to studies. But based on those, they don't seem to be the big super spreaders that everybody thinks. So what do we do? These rules are ridiculous. They are. It's like either go or don't go, but don't half-ass it. When I played soccer, you'd always tell the guys that would get hurt, they wouldn't go hard. There would be like a challenge, and they would kind of go soft. Either go full-blooded or don't go at all. You're not going to send kids to we're going to send the kids to school once a week, twice a week. So what? There's like a 35% chance that they could catch it. So we're going to mitigate the risk by only sending them 1 or 2 days a week. Well, if we send them 1 day, it's only 20%. Oh, that's a great idea. If we send them no days, there's no chance they'll catch it at school. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. It's your Twitter. Can you imagine that? You can only have 2 people on a boat. It's a big boat. If I'm inviting people, I probably know them. I don't just randomly tell people, hey, you want to come get on my boat? Dumbasses. Oh, my Lord. And we're supposed to listen. Idiots. America, we're fighting like lions, but unfortunately I feel like we're led by donkeys. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Hundreds of thousands of kids in kindergarten to grade 6 were invited back to class in the province of Quebec this week. It was voluntary, and some schools put out videos to let kids know what to expect. 6 feet between desks in all classrooms, no sharing school supplies, play structures are off limits, and
gym, library, NPR, cafeteria, all are closed.
NPR? Yeah, get rid of NPR too. Hi, everybody. Thanks for listening. It's time to talk about NPR. That sounds like fun. How are you going to troll kids like that? Honestly. Tell a kid they can't do something. That's all they want to do. Tell them they should all spend every waking second with each other, nonstop, and they'll maybe semi-social distance. Oh, my God. I can't wait to see. I don't envy teachers anyway, but trying to work around No Child Left Behind, also Common Core, also hermetically sealed, that's going to be the new education. No Child Left Behind with Common Core hermetically sealed.
It's like the first day of school with new rules, and we need to show them those new rules. And
September is coming, and I said, you know what, let's try and get things going to get them back into reality, get them back into somewhat of a routine, and to realize what is going to be the new reality.
It's not the new reality. Stop with that. Those are Canadians, so, it's not the new reality. I'm here to tell you people, none of it's the new reality. It's the moment that we live in right now. It's not the new reality. I do not foresee a future where we're all walking around with masks on 24/7, that we have to stay 6 feet away from each other, all the time, that we're only allowing 2 people on a boat. None of that's real. Kids, it's going to be super exciting. Jimmy, I want you to play sports. You're going to play handball. Who am I playing against? Nobody. Dodgeball. Who am I playing against? Nobody. You throw it. Use your imagination like you got somebody out. Then you run over to the other side, pick it up, throw it again. Use your imagination. See if you got somebody out. So stupid. My God. It's nuts. But welcome to the world that we live in. We live in insanity. We do. We're living in a world of cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. We've seen this thing. We understand where the real issues are when it attacks people. Well, some people are younger get sick. Yeah, some people who are younger get sick. And they die. They also die with the flu. Elon Musk said this, and I thought it was apropos. He didn't say this once. He said it twice in 2 different ways.
Then if somebody dies, was COVID a primary cause of the death or not? If somebody has COVID, gets eaten by a shark, we find their arm has COVID, it's going to get recorded as a COVID death.
Yeah. Oh, that's silly. No, it's true. It's crazy. It's absolutely true. He wasn't done.
Like I said, somebody should be recorded as COVID only if it is somebody has been tested, has received a positive COVID test, not if they simply have symptoms, one of like 100 symptoms. And then if it is a COVID death, it must be separated. Was COVID a primary reason for death, or did they also have stage 3 cancer, heart disease, emphysema, and got hit by a bus and had COVID?
It's not very nice. Just being honest. I don't know what the numbers are going to be, right? What I do know is because originally 50 million people were going to get this, right? So you had 50 million people that were going to get this, and then all the death that was going to come out of it. And look at the numbers. Well, we don't know how many people. We've got, 1.4 million, give or take? What if 90% of people are asymptomatic? As they're pointing out in a lot of places, that most people have no idea whether they had it. What if instead of this, it was 10 million and the deaths were 80,000, give or take? All of a sudden, you're looking at a rate that's a little bit higher than the flu, and people are going to ask serious questions about this. Because as we sit here and we see what's going on, the reality is people are getting pissed. And this genie in the bottle that they're about to open right now in some states in a much bigger way is not going back in the bottle. Some states still, like Elon Musk says, he's about done with California, ready to get the hell out of there. And I get it.
If somebody wants to stay in their house, that's great. They should be allowed to stay in their house, and they should not be compelled to leave. But to say that they cannot leave their house and they will be arrested if they do, this is fascist. This is not democratic. This is not freedom. Give people back their goddamn freedom.
What do you think of that? Again, Elon Musk. He's interesting. He's crazy. Don't get me wrong. Guy's out there. But he's interesting, and crazy people are right, too. I was reading an article that he's a billionaire, but he's cash poor. People are like, well, how can you be cash poor? Well, everything's in stocks or your company or your homes or so. And cash poor is a relative term to what he has. It's like, I don't think he's going, hey, can I borrow $20? I need to put gas in my car. But as far as like, does he have $25 million cash on hand in the bank at any given time? Maybe not. Maybe not. But he's an interesting character. He says within a year, we're going to have the microchips ready for the brain. And I've said it. I've been out there. I've said it, and I'll continue to say it. Totally. I'll totally do it. Of all the things, like, that's one of the things I'm like, yeah, I'd do that. I'd absolutely do that. Be a ninja? Do you get to learn how to be a ninja? Is that part of the thing? Is it going to be like, what was that movie with Keanu Reeves, The Matrix? Is that what it was? All right, cool. I'd be up for that. 323-538-2423. At Chad Bench Show is your Twitter, your Instagram, and your Facebook. The owners yesterday submitted a proposal, some Major League Baseball owners, to the teams, representatives, who will then turn around, look at it, talk to the players, and then they'll take it to the unions, and then God only knows what happens from there about kickstarting Major League Baseball.
It's going to look a lot different than this initial proposal, Sage. Okay. And that's an important thing to remember. Buster only said earlier today, we're in the top of the first right now. And, to use a baseball metaphor, that's 100% true, because in the end, where I think everybody's going to land is that playing baseball is better than not playing baseball. There are so many downsides on both sides to there being no games this season. So practically, pragmatically, logically, it just makes sense for them to hash out their issues, to go back and forth, and then to strike a deal ultimately and bring baseball back at the beginning of July.
So that's what they're looking for. July 4th weekend of launch. You're going to play most of your teams in your division, a few interleague games, 82-game schedule. So that's kind of an interesting thing.
Spring training would start mid-June. Each team would play about 82 games against mostly divisional opponents and interleague matchups with teams from the same region. The designated hitter would be expanded to both leagues.
Ew, not a fan of the designated hitter.
Teams would have the option of playing games in home stadiums, spring training facilities, or neutral sites approved by medical and government officials. The playoff teams would be expanded from 10 to 14. The All-Star game set for Dodger Stadium would be scrapped under the plan, which still needs to be approved by the Players Union before it can move forward.
So no All-Star game, 14 teams, and the way that they would do it is because there's no minor leagues this year, obviously. So you would have normally it's a 25-man roster. So you'd have a 30-man roster now and 50 total players. So that means that you'd be on the Major League roster and 20 of those players wouldn't suit up for those games. Just like if you got a guy that's injured, you can bring a guy up immediately. That way you always have people that are fresh. It would be interesting. I mean, is it better than nothing? I would say it's better than nothing. But I'm looking at football as the one. Like if football was canceled, that does something totally different than anything. Baseball never started. I don't know about the NBA. I still think every day goes by, it gets further and further away. Hockey, I just don't think there's any chance of hockey. Soccer around the world, this weekend you've got the German league kicks off again behind closed doors. The Premier League, which is next to the NFL, probably the most popular league in the world, will kick off June 1st behind closed doors. And this NBA, I think Major League Baseball could do it. The NFL, though, the NFL to me is if it doesn't go and it doesn't start and it's pushed out and then it's eventually canceled, it's the morale side of things that I think hurts in so many ways I don't think people understand. That's the one I think that people are looking at. And the one thing the NFL has compared to everybody else is a very large run-up before their season begins. And baseball was in spring training before this thing really took off, and then they had to cancel. Hockey and basketball were almost done with their seasons. So now you're at a point where football will have several months of this, and if it doesn't start, that will be a huge blow to the American psyche that will take a long time for, I think, people to come out of. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. Masks are, well, they're part of everyday life now. Too many of you out there are homemade masks. They don't fit right. They don't really do anything. But why not get something that's inexpensive, that's comfortable, and that you can use for 30 days? Boomer Naturals has a 30-day face mask, and it is awesome. They're the highest protection mask any civilian can get. 92.2% antibacterial protection, and it will protect dangerous particles and droplets flying in the air coming at you. What's great about these? 3 layers, hypoallergenic, 35% polyester, 65% cotton. It's a blended material. Each layer is treated with antibacterial and antiviral stuff. It's just great. And it's 30 days. What that means is you take it off, wash it in warm water with a little bit of soap, air dry it, use it again tomorrow. What I love is the comfort. I sent, luckily through them, they said, hey, we'd like to make a donation. And they sent about 1,500 masks to St. Mary's, which is a big food bank out here in Phoenix. They rave about them, how comfortable they are. They fit them. They fit the face and like comfortably the nose and the mouth. And they have children's sizes as well. So doesn't matter. They got different colors, children's sizes. The fit is perfect and inexpensive, big time. Now I want you try it. Simple and easy. Use code CHAD20. You're going to save 20%. Plus, you can get free shipping on all orders over $50. That's code CHAD20. Go to boomernaturals.com. Boomernaturals.com. Code CHAD20. Take your family's health into your own hands and order your 30-day mask now at boomernaturals.com. Boomernaturals.com. Use the promo code CHAD20. Chad Benson Show.
No need to fear. We promise we won't give you a noogie and make you cry Russia, Russia, Russia.
Who is the fearless leader?
Fui.
Fui, fui, and double fui.
What is your language? It is a family show, remember?
Fui to families too.
Nostrovia. This is Chad Benson.
They say tomorrow's getting harder. Make no mistakes. Lucky ain't even lucky. Gotta make your own breaks. It's my life. It's now or never.
This is for Rise Up New York. Bon Jovi.
I'm gonna live. I am alive.
That is awful. I have never liked Bon Jovi. I've never liked him. Are you a Bon Jovi fan? Like, you're a music dude. Like, are you a Bon Jovi fan?
You know, I'm not a huge fan, but I like a couple of his songs.
I mean, I can appreciate the talent. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate the talent. I got zero problems with any of that. But I just never have, like, there's just nothing that he does that I thought, well, I like that. I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know. He's not Karen Carpenter, I'll tell you that. Just letting you guys know that. I watched a interesting documentary over the weekends, one of those docudrama on Reels, where it's like real stuff, and then they're interviewing people that were there, and then at the same time they intersperse like acting with it. It was interesting about like, man, what a mess. And what an absolute mess that was. Just a disaster. Like I said, she's Bon Jovi. Not really like, definitely not Carpenter. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program as well. So, SCOTUS, obviously going on. Hearing tax stuff from Trump and a bunch of other stuff. You've got Fauci testifying. It's just a lot of, like the Fauci thing. At this point in time, I look around and I ask myself, is this what we need now? If you want to have real conversations when this is all over, I've got zero problems. I think we'll always investigate could we have done it better? The problem is we don't investigate, could we have done it better? Is there something we missed? How should we have done this? We come at investigations, or they're no longer investigations or committee meetings. They're true gotcha moments. Could we have gotcha? Should we have gotcha? Can we gotcha? And in a time of crisis, I don't think this helps. I mean, we're already tribal enough. I mean, we're tribal over the damn virus. There's a virus out there that is nasty. It is ugly. And it's weird because you do have a group of people, I think, on the right who's, it's nothing. And it's not nothing. But you also have a group of people on the left that, like, this thing is essentially the plague. And both sides want to be right. It's nuts. It is. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. I know I'm going to get Bon Jovi hate. How do you not like Bon Jovi? I just don't. I don't. I know it's weird, but that's just me. Never been a Bon Jovi fan. I think it's New Jersey because I don't really like Bruce Springsteen. Oh, here comes the hate now. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Since the Second World War, there's been nothing like it since. At the center of this industrial and scientific mobilization was the development of our coronavirus testing capabilities. In the span of just a few short months, we've developed a testing capacity unmatched and unrivaled anywhere in the world, and it's not even close. This is a core element of our plan to safely and gradually reopen America, and we're opening and we're starting, and there's enthusiasm like I haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah, because people are in their houses like, I gotta get outside, I'm going crazy. Enthusiasm. Look, yesterday was the reason I don't like watching the press conferences because Trump can be Trump. We expect it from him. And there's a pushback from the media, and they enjoy it. And everything is, he's a liar. They're awful. He's not telling the whole truth. They're not telling the whole truth. Does it matter to the average person? I don't think it does. I think the average person is looking around and saying, let me tell you something. We want to get back to life. We want to get back to working. We want to get back to watching sporting events, going out, living our lives. The arguing and fighting in politics, I think people are over. In this tribal world, though, we're not getting a respite from that. The virus has now become part of that chaos and craziness. You got the Fauci testimony today. You got all this stuff going on. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't care. I care about reopening. I care about the small businesses. I care about people getting their lives back. I care about people feeling good about tomorrow, not terrified of today. Across the country, slowly but surely, things are starting to reopen. And I understand this is Jared Polis, who is the governor of Colorado, talking about customers and the reopening.
Customers will return en masse when they feel safe. When people see videos of people packed into a restaurant with no social distancing and no masks, people feel less safe, and the widespread economic pain will only be prolonged.
Is that true? Do you feel less safe? Some people do. Some people don't. I have news for you. The mask means very little. This is the way I've always looked at things. If the mask is the all greatness of everything, then why do we shut everything down? If it doesn't stop anything, then why do we have to wear one, right? I don't know. People are going to come out and shop and get back to normal when they feel two things. Safe is one of them. And that's why having all the information you could possibly get and being as transparent as possible and trying to get all the information that's real and relevant is important. But it's also the fear about being shut down again. Why would people want to go out and start to redo things if they're, hey, I'm going to get back out there, I'm going to go to a restaurant, I'm going to do this, that, or the other, when the worry is you're going to shut it down again, and then people are going to be worried about their jobs, and a second shutdown would be far, far, far worse than the first one.
We've got to remember that continuing to stay home and stay safe is the key to helping us lower the chance of a second wave, and so that we can re-engage sectors of our economy sooner.
Gretchen Whitmire, she is also a governor of Michigan. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to find out the way that we tackle this thing. Everybody's going to have a different way of going about doing it. But I do know this. As you start to reopen and you start to allow people to get back out there to live their lives again, you're going to find it harder and harder to go backwards. And that's something to be wary of. It really is. You're seeing it in places across the country where you're having not so much unrest, but people are just saying, we're going to live our lives, and if you need to come do whatever you think you have to do, then go ahead and do it. But we've had enough. That will grow. And it's not just going to be crazy right-wing militia. It's going to be the exhausted majority who are saying, we're seeing the numbers. We understand that you care. We're adults. Allow us to have some choice in this. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. You can text the program as well. Love hearing from all of you, the good, the bad. I tweeted something earlier and somebody says, oh, you're part of a conspiracy theory. I'm like, what conspiracy theory am I part of? I'm just like, I am anything but conspiracy theory. Like, I am anything but that. I think conspiracy theories are crazy. I don't buy into it. I've never bought into 99% of them. Like, there are some that are real. Let's be honest. There are things out there that conspiracy-wise have rings of truth in them. But as far as like, and especially when it comes to the virus, do I think this is a man-made super virus that the Chinese did on purpose? No, I don't. Do I think it could have gotten out of a facility that they were doing research on because they were careless? It's always a possibility. That's not conspiracy. That's just the possibility. But people are that, I mean, it goes back again to the stupid ass, like, hey, you're a right winger or left winger when it comes to the virus. You're either terrified of it or you don't believe it exists. I can never once called it a hoax. Never once. Ever. It's not a hoax. Can we be overly terrified? Can the media play it up? Yes. That's real. Let's not pretend that that's not real. Can people underplay it? Yeah, there are people out there that underplay it like, this is no big deal. It's like stubbing your toe. No, that's not real either. But it's interesting to see how tribal we've become over a stupid, ridiculous thing like a mask or, I mean, good God, what is wrong with people? Lots, Chad, lots. They're angry and they're upset and they find ways to fight over the dumbest things in the world. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet us. Here's a perfect example of this. It's ice cream. It's ice cream.
It was meant to be a quiet opening at Polar Cave Ice Cream Parlor in Mashpee to kick off Mother's Day weekend. The owner has been able to open up under restaurant guidelines, but wanted to wait until he felt it was safe for everyone. Still, Friday was anything but business as usual.
One of my best workers quit yesterday at the end of her shift. The word she was called and the language, you wouldn't even say it in a men's locker room. And to say it to a 17-year-old kid, they should be ashamed of themselves.
Yeah, it's ice cream. Why are you pissed about ice cream? Why are you angry about ice cream?
Kyle Lawrence says they posted online that all orders must be placed an hour in advance, but not everyone listened and instead took their anger out on his employees when they got busy.
Now I open the doors to a whole new world with gloves and masks, but people don't, they're like, where's my ice cream? I'm not a trauma center, it's ice cream.
But people want ice cream. Damn it, they want it now. They want to be able to stop in and get ice cream. They need it now.
People have forgotten how to treat other human beings in the 6 or 7 weeks that they've been confined to their homes. They have no clue how to respect other human beings. We're not claiming that we know what we're doing. We don't know what we're doing, but we're giving it a shot.
Crazy. Over ice cream. We've lost our way. Well, you treat people like children, they're going to act like children. It's not hard. It isn't. It's not hard to be respectful. It's not hard to just be like a nice, normal human being. Yelling at a 17-year-old over ice cream. How bad do you want? Is there something in that ice cream you need? People are anxious to get out there, and they're ridiculous. I think we know that. People are always ridiculous. That is funny, though. Over ice cream. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. Just a small business trying to do his thing. A lot of those people are out there trying that. Speaking to people yesterday, we're going to restaurants for the first time as they open up here in Arizona with very little direction. You know, there wasn't like, okay, here are 2 or 3 things that you should do and you're going to do, like disposable whatever, this, that, and the other, whether it's the menus or some people are having special cutlery brought in that is sealed and packaged and stuff like that. And it was interesting to watch the way that some people reacted. And some people are angry because people are going out to eat. And other people are angry because other people aren't going out to eat. And he was like, wow, you guys could fight over anything. You guys could. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. You can tweet at me. Wounded Paw Project. Here's something to not fight over. We can all join in with them. They're an amazing organization that rescues dogs. So you've got dogs that are going to be euthanized. And Wounded Paw saves them and trains them. So it takes them from the shelter to service dogs and helps with our veterans, our first responders, and their families. And they need your help big time right now, especially as our first responders are going through so much trauma and stress and exhaustion. And it's just a great, great thing. So you can donate in several ways. You go to smile.amazon.com, set your supporting group to Wounded Paw Project, or you can give cash. But if you've got an extra car, truck, RV, boat, whatever it is, it's truly a vehicle for change. You're going to be saving a paw to save a life, which is their motto. You get a great tax-deductible gift, and the proceeds are used to protect, advocate, and to, yes, train these dogs to go from the shelter to service dogs for our veterans, first responders, and their family. Find out everything you need to know and how you can help by going to woundedpawproject.org. Woundedpawproject.org. You'll be saving a paw to save a life. Chad Benson Show.
Take a fake news break. Check out the really important news of the day at our website, ChadBensonShow.com. Once there, click on Chad's free podcast and get real. The Chad Benson Show, where truth and the American way live. Print free.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? All right. Find out what's trending. Let's head on over to the world of magic that is Twitter. Ooh. Trump's tax returns trending because SCOTUS is hearing that today. For sure. Florence Nightingale, the world's first nurse, was born 200 years ago today. Did you guys know that? Yeah, you didn't? Dr. Fauci and the hearings are trending. Break the silence. What is he going to say? First of all, he is the guy that's the head of a lot of this stuff. So what is he going to say? Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, he might say Trump disagreed and you talk a lot of stuff, but what is he going to come out and say today that's going to be transformative in the way that we're living our lives at this moment in time? Question, I think, Asian Americans, because of yesterday, Trump, and just, oh my God, it just gets so annoying. It does. Head over to Google. The number one trending thing on both Google and Twitter we'll talk about in a second. Some of the other things trending on Google. Becky Lynch, WWE champion. She gave up her belt yesterday and announced that she is pregnant. The IRS stimulus check. So tomorrow is, I think, the last day that you can apply to get direct deposit. I was talking to producer Anthony. He's like, you go on there and you log on and then you click onto something else and it basically says that you will be followed and everything. They're going to make sure that you do nothing wrong. If you cross this, I mean, it's just, he's like, oh, goodness, just mail me the check. Mike Tyson is trending because I'm saying this. I think he's going to fight again. And not just in exhibitions. I think he's thinking he's going to fight again. But the number one trending thing everywhere is Bryan Adams. Yeah, because he went on a tirade on his old Twitter. And, of course, as we all know, if you say anything that the world deems to be evil, bad, racist, whatever, you're in a lot of trouble. You're in a lot of trouble. Many interpreted the star's comments as anti-Asian, anti-Chinese. What did he say? Well, he was talking about, are you ready for this, kids? Is everybody sitting down? Yes. He was talking about the wet markets. Did he say something about the wet markets he shouldn't have said? Yeah. And, of course, as we all know, if you say something that somebody wants to deem as evil and bad, they're going to come after you for it. Talked about, basically, the wet markets. Gross. Stop eating bats. Things of that nature. People went off on him. He's bad. He's evil. He's anti-Chinese, etc. Ah, jeez. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't. And the reason he's pissed is because he had a bunch of gigs that were canceled. He says tonight was supposed to be the beginning of a Tennessee of gigs at the Royal Albert Hall, but thanks to some blanking, bad-eating, wet market, animal-selling, virus-making, greedy beep, the whole world is now on hold. You're not allowed to be frustrated. He's bad. He's evil. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
You know, my interactions with the White House have not been partisan. In this social media, immediate source of information, everybody's got something to say environment, we went from facts and briefings to tweets and opinions now, and we really don't have trusted sources of information anymore. And maybe that's why we've gone both directions and become so partisan.
Yeah. I agree 110%. I don't get it. It's ridiculous. Partisanship, craziness. I posted something earlier. Is a perfect example of the Twitter sphere. No longer is what you say taken the way that you meant it. It's seen through the eyes of, and I understand with Twitter in particular and a lot of other stuff in social media, context. It's tough to get the nuance and the context of certain things, but it was meant as this one was pretty much self-explanatory. I'm like, shocker, CNN poll says CNN's the most trusted name. That feels very sarcastic. People are like, you're a conspiracy theorist. I'm like, what are you talking about? This. You probably believe at real Donald Trump and at Fox News. I'm like, well, I don't watch Fox News or any of the other ones. I prefer telenovelas because there's no drama there. I don't think he's being honest. I said, I have CNN, MSNBC, Fox, usually C-SPAN, whatever that I can get, I flip around. But I don't watch any of them. They're on for just in the background. I don't have them up. And I don't believe any of what any of them say. I have friends who are pollsters. They'll tell me all the time. I work with a guy, Paul Bentz. And he say, Chad, I can, whatever you want me to have the poll say, we can design it in a way that will fit whatever it is that you're trying to do. That's the reality of it. So Fox can have polls and ask polls of their people, their watchers, their listeners, their whatever they have, as well as a random group of selected people. So it's not just all Fox viewers. And same thing with CNN. And they can ask things in a certain way that will tell you a certain thing with none of it being the actual truth, because you can ask things in certain ways. It's silly. But this is where we are. This is where we are at this day and age. We are fighting over stupid stuff. We're fighting over things that don't really matter. Why don't you believe Fox? Well, why should I believe Fox? Why should I believe CNN? Why should I believe MSNBC? I know exactly where all three of them stand. And so whatever they're going to give me is going to be based on their truth, not the truth. And I'm not saying that everything they give you is a lie, because that's not real either. A lot of what they give you is real. But what do we always talk about here? I want to be fair in a real way. Balance it out with, this is the best data we have. It's not black or white. Truth is somewhere in the middle, and it does skew at times one way or another. Do I think that we've messed up with some of the coronavirus stuff? Absolutely. I think we've messed up some of the way that we've taken this thing on in several different ways. Do I think Trump played it off at first? I think there was times he didn't think it was as bad as it was made out to be. Do I think he's also done some decent stuff? Yes. But we don't live a world like that. We live a world like you have to take a side. And that's just the dumbest thing to do. It's like, could you imagine, picture a relationship like this. Either the person's 100% right or 100% wrong. There's no other thing. There's no gray area. There's no seeing it from their point of view, but also seeing it from the other side. It's either your wife is 100% right all the time and you agree with everything, or else everything they do is wrong. That's a relationship that will fail. And that's the problem we have right now. We're either, it's all or nothing. And that is not real. That's a bunch of crap. And that leads to failure. And that's a lot of what we have. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. You can text the program as well. Money. Will we be getting more money?
We need to make very big, dramatic moves to put money into people's hands. This $2,000 a month proposal in the House and the Senate is the right direction. We need to shore up jobs in the economy through any means possible, put money into people's hands.
Which is what we've done, right? So we're putting money into people's hands, but the Republicans are reticent to throw more money out there. Now there's a proposal out there for $2,000 a month, but for how long? Is it forever? Is that what we're going to do? Are we doing a forever thing? No, that's nuts.
But also put money into state governments, hospitals, schools, nonprofits, small businesses. All of them are firing people right now. The easiest way to retain jobs is to keep them from being lost. So what we have to do is we have to put money into institutions' hands, into people's hands, so that the jobs that remain aren't lost in the days to come.
That right there is the Yang, part of the Yang gang. I was sitting there going, okay, so we're going to put money into, well, why are the hospitals, why are they struggling? They've got so much business. Well, they really don't. Hospitals live with, being occupied. The majority of hospitals across the country aren't being occupied. They're not New York City. Here where I am in Arizona, I think we're at 8% capacity when it comes to the COVID. Like they thought, well, there's going to be, we're going to have all these beds. And so what did they do 60 days ago? They stopped having surgeries. So a couple of my friends who are nurses, they were furloughed. Why? Because they weren't needed. A lot of what you see in the hospital right now isn't COVID-19. The majority of what you see in the hospital are things other than that. I just love the fact that. So $2,000 a month. Does that? What is that like? Is that for everybody? Are we doing? Is there a means test? Is there not a means test? I'm never really sure. I feel like there's always going to be some sort of test. Like if you make this, you don't get that. If you make that, you don't get this. The kids get it. They don't get it. Is that going to make people go to work? I'll tell you this now. All right, here's a perfect example. My little sister, God bless her, I love her. She's out of work now because of this. She's like, I hope this lasts forever. She's making $1,000 a week. She was making like $350. She goes, I don't want to go back to work. That's an incentive. That's not what we want. It's not what we want. We do not need more people dependent upon the government. Because eventually what ends up happening is when you, and I talked to Michael Crow about this one day. He is the president of ASU, and we went out to lunch. And we were chatting because he was going up to Stanford to have a discussion about universal basic income. And he was talking to a couple of the founders of, Alphabet and Google. And they were chatting about this. And they were talking about the need for universal basic income and how, this is going to be great if everybody gets money and they don't have to work and stuff. And as they started chatting more and more, he was pointing out what you're going to do is not only are you going to make them dependent upon you, but you're also going to start to take away their dignity. And when you start to take away people's dignity, what you're going to find out is people aren't going to be thrilled. When you start making them dependent upon you for everything and you take away their opportunities, even if you're doing it for a good cause or what you think is good, you're going to find out that slowly but surely they're going to feel they have no purpose. And then they're going to start to get angry. And then they're going to feel desperate. And he said they never even thought of it like that. It wasn't because they wanted to keep people down. It wasn't because they wanted to destroy human beings. It's because they thought they were doing good. They see the world changing and they thought, well, how can we help? What are some of the things we can push, like Yang and stuff? And then you start to realize, well, hold on a second. This feels a little bit different. I understand why they did it at first, because the government came in and shut everything down. And because of that, people were forced. But there's a lot of people out there that are pushing for this universal basic income. And I think at first everybody's going to sit around, well, I don't have to work and I'm going to get free money. It's not the way it works. What happens if you do want to work? How many of you have been going crazy because you feel like you're not doing anything? You're not contributing. You're not becoming a part of something. You're not part of society. A friend of mine who doesn't make a ton of money, who was furloughed, and she says, I'm getting more money than I was getting before. And I go, well, that's good. She goes, I hate it. Because she's older. She says, I hate it. I feel like a loser. I think you find a lot more people out there that feel that way than the excitement of getting something. Oh, it'll be neat at first, but eventually the frustration builds. And then you start to say, I feel like nothing. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at me. You can text me with your hate, love, whatever it is. Your things that you think I'm a conspiracy theorist about. I do dig the UFO stuff, all right? Now, I'm not saying they're aliens, but I'm saying there's stuff out there we can't explain. That's all I'm saying, kids. That's all I'm saying. Stuff out there we can't explain. You know it and I know it. Gabby, going to save you money. So you got homeowners insurance, you got car insurance. Is it the best? Are you getting the most for your money? Are you spending way too much? Gabby's going to help you. Gabby takes the pain out of shopping for insurance. What do? Well, they're going to give you apples comparison on your current coverage with 40 of the top insurance providers like Progressive, Nationwide, Travelers. So you link your insurance account, and in about 2 minutes, you'll be able to see the quotes for the exact same coverage you currently have. I did that. I don't know what, it saved me like right around $1,000 or so, a little bit more than that for the year because my car insurance was way too much for the coverage I had. My homeowner's insurance, spot on. On average, Gabby customers save about $825 a year. So, what are you waiting for? It takes about 2 minutes. They're never going to sell your info, so no annoying spam or robocalls. And it's totally free to check your rate. There's no obligation. Again, 2 minutes to save yourself maybe $1,000. Oh, get on it. How do you do it? Go to Gabby.com/Benson. That's GABI.com/Benson. Gabby.com/Benson. Chad Benson Show.
I'm so tired. I'm exhausted.
If you're part of the politically exhausted majority, don't fear. Your time to be validated and rejuvenated is here. Wake up. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Oh my God, what just happened? I sent it to them, to all my favorite skaters, Tony Hawk, Bob Burnquist, Neil Mims, all of them. When I landed my first 540, my first 720, and my first 900, and now I can conclude the 1080. And being the youngest, all of them.
Yeah. His name is Guy Curie. Now think about this. He's 11 years old. 11. He did a 1080 on a vertical ramp. It's only been done once before, and that was on one of the mega ramps that gives you massive, huge speed. This was just a regular vertical ramp. He's 11. Nobody has ever done it. Tony Hawk was 31 when he did his 900. This kid is a freak, and he has no idea, by the way. I mean, he knows he's good, and I've seen some videos of him, and he's ridiculous, but he truly is like an 11-year-old that doesn't really understand how good he is. He's in Brazil. He's been practicing a lot because, there's a lockdown and stuff. It's very interesting to watch him. So when Tony Hawk did his 900, he was 31 years old, and it was 9 years before this kid was even born. And he said, It's the biggest moment of his competitive career. This kid did a 1080. All right, to give you an example, that is 360. And if you watch the video, you're like, wow, like that's amazing. That is. And he's 11. He's 11. He's like, I just want to get better. Next year in the Tokyo Olympics, if there is one, they will be a skateboarding in it for the first time. So we'll see how that plays itself out. That might be interesting. That might be very interesting. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. Today, the committee hearings are going on.
We have many candidates and hope to have multiple winners. In other words, it's multiple shots on goal. This will be important because this will be good for global availability if we have more than one successful candidate.
Yeah, Dr. Fauci and several other of the health people that are, I think Redfield, CDC, they're all doing it via Skype and Zoom meeting because they can't, because they're quarantining and some of the other senators aren't there. So it's funny to watch this. And what's interesting is to see where do they do it from and what's their offices look like. That's what I always find it funny. And have you ever seen, like, we were joking the other day, because some people, they'll go and put something green behind them, thinking they're going to green screen it and not realizing that doesn't really work that way. It's like, so they're just behind, there's just a green wall behind them. It's like they skinned Kermit the Frog. Just put him up there. That's what I would totally do. A total green screen, but then just have Kermit's head with like some arms. You're the worst. But today's about one thing.
The fact of the matter is President Trump has been more focused on fighting against the truth than fighting this virus. And Americans have sadly paid the price.
Patty Murray, Democrat, Washington. Everybody's paid the price. A lot of people have paid the price. I read yesterday a study. Oh, my God, another study that says alcohol and suicide will cause, because of the shutdown and drug addiction, will cause 75,000 deaths. You're like, oh, that's a lot of deaths. It is. It is a lot of deaths. There's a no win in this situation. There's a no win. Doesn't matter. If you're a politician, I don't care if you're on the right or left, the decisions you're going to make are going to cost people's lives and livelihood. And there's just no right answer. There is just the answer that you think is best. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me, text the program as well. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Such an exercise sometimes encourages finger pointing. Before we spend too much time finger pointing, I'd like to suggest that almost all of us, the United States and almost every country, so far as I can tell, underestimated this virus.
Senator Lamar Alexander, Republican Tennessee. It's a day of committee hearings. Now, the fun thing is the buffering and the people that are frozen. That's more entertaining than any of the stuff going on. And I like how they call it the Fauci committee hearing when you've got the CDC person, Redfield, and you've got the home health secretary there and all. It's a lot of people. And what are we going to get out of it? How does this affect you? Let me ask you that out there. You can text me, 323-538-2423. You can tweet at me at Chad Benson Show. How does this affect you at all? Does this get you closer to reopening your business? Does this get you closer to paying off your bills? Does this get you closer to any of those things? I don't think so. Unless magically in this hearing, and these hearings aren't to find out truth. These hearings are to find out where to lay the blame politically. But it doesn't move you any closer to where America needs to be at this moment in time. The exhausted majority, not the loony left, right? Or the nutty right. And I'm not talking about the average conservative or the average Democrat. I'm talking about the fringes who only see life through red and blue. These are important to you because it's politics. The exhausted majority, and I say majority because there's more of us, we're over it. We're living life day to day in this weird world that we have created for ourselves. You guys can find out where the blame lies because much like everything else, it's always about blame. It's never about finding out how we have a solution. The far right and far left could spill milk in your house. They would argue over how the milk was poured, who knocked the milk over, whose fault it was. All the while, you've got a broken glass and milk on the floor, and what ends up happening? You have to go and do it yourself and clean it up. That's the frustrating part. These do very little for people. It's all about brownie points and a good soundbite. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program as well. Kimberly Strassel, Wall Street Journal.
More and more information keeps coming in that is fundamentally changing our initial views. There are studies suggesting children don't necessarily transmit the disease to other people. So was it right to shut down schools? There's some people speculating that this is a disease that mostly spreads in hospitals and nursing homes and very crowded, cramped places like public transit. So did we need to lock down so much of the economy?
That's a fair question. Do we need to lock down so much of the economy? When it comes to, and it's a perfect example of there's so many, studies. This study over here says kids aren't really transmitters. They rarely will transmit it from adults. It affects them very regularly, very irregularly will it affect a child in such a way that it kills them. It's so just like just doesn't happen. Flu is more dangerous to a child. So did we do the right thing? We're talking about fundamentally changing the way we go to school. Kids may go to school 1, 2, 3 days a week. Social distancing. You stay over there. You stay over here. Everybody put your hands out. Now take one step backwards, one step forward, spin around. That's the area you must stay in the entire. It's nuts. Did we go too far? It's possible. Did we not go far enough? It's possible. At the end of the day, we've started this path of reopening, and we're going to have to figure out how we get there. Some states will do it better than others. Other states are going to have trouble.
Customers will return en masse when they feel safe. When people see videos of people packed into a restaurant with no social distancing and no masks, people feel less safe. And the widespread economic pain will only be prolonged.
That's psychological. There's a psychological aspect to this. You see a bunch of people, go back pre-coronavirus. When you saw somebody with a mask, what's the first thing that came to your mind? They're probably fighting cancer. They have something wrong with their immune system. Usually that's what you would see and that's what you would think. Now people wearing masks, psychologically, we think that everything is contaminated because everybody is supposed to be wearing one. That every door handle, every gas pump nozzle, every, computer keyboard or what is something on it that potentially is a killer. And there's a psychological thing to that. And some people will not feel comfortable returning even with masks. I mean, you walk into a restaurant, people are wearing masks and gloves. The optics are, man, I don't know if I want to eat here. I don't know if I want to. Maybe not. And I understand that it's kind of like the TSA. Like the TSA it's kind of a placebo effect. You don't really catch anything. Makes you feel better, right? You take your shoes off and you do the hokey pokey. But do you really feel like they're going to stop whatever great thing's going on? No, I don't ever really feel that way. The question, though, that needs to be answered, and it needs to be answered sooner rather than later, is the second wave. What happens? What do governors, city officials, state officials, and the feds do when there is a spike? And there will be some sort of spike because testing is growing. And on top of that, people are going to be out and about again.
We've got to remember that continuing to stay home and stay safe is the key to helping us lower the chance of a second wave and so that we can re-engage sectors of our economy sooner.
Gretchen Whitmer right there. She's, we want to get out there. And I don't envy Democrats or Republicans who are running their states, erring on, some Republican governors want to open up now, and people are like, you're throwing people's health out there and people are going to die. On the other side, people who clamp down too hard, they're being seen as you're anti-business. No, people are doing what they think is best for them and their state and their people. There's no right answer here. There's just the answer. And the answer will probably be okay in some areas and not so good in others. But the second wave's a real thing, and it's starting to happen in places like South Korea.
Look at South Korea. South Korea was quick to flatten that curve. It's often been an example we've used as a country that really succeeded in containing COVID-19. But just these past few days, it's come to light that there's been dozens of new cases. There's a new cluster. And what's outrageous is that they believe that those dozens of cases are all linked to just one man who went clubbing on one night, visited 5 nightclubs, and infected dozens of people.
Now, being infected, most people are asymptomatic, never find out. They don't know they've ever had it. Doesn't mean that we think that we see, 1.5 million people that have tested positive, that all 1.5 million people are in the hospital. And that's not true. Small, tiny fraction of that will ever see a hospital. And even smaller will ever actually go into the hospital. And even smaller will ever be in a situation where they're going to be in ICU. But it spreads easy. The tentacles are big with this thing. That's something we do understand. We realize who the people are that face the biggest risk when it comes to this. So South Korea is seeing a spike. Around the world, was we sit here and everybody looks for somebody to blame of how did this go and how did that go and why didn't we do this and why didn't we do that and could this have been done better? And everybody else is doing better than us, and that's just not true.
They have not been able to leave their apartment unless they leave with a permission slip stating why they have to exit, and they can only go 1 kilometer, which is a little over half a mile, away from their house. So even if you're a runner, you got to get out and get exercise, right? You got to get some fresh air. You could only go before 10 a.m. or after 7 p.m. But even still, they had to run in that half-mile radius. So all these runners have just been running in circles for 55 days.
That's Paris. 55 days of running in circles. 55 days. And you look at all the hardcore clampdown that a lot of places around the globe have done. It's not changed much of what's taken place in those areas. One thing we've learned is living in dense populations is not a helper. And older people who are unhealthy, face the biggest risk. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at me. You can text the program as well. Raycon, best earbuds around. Love them. E25s every day earbuds. I'm watching the old thing go on here as they're all, throughout the day, as they're live streaming themselves in these meetings, and some of them have just goofy headphones on. Raycons are amazing. Small, compact, put in your ears, nice noise isolating fit, 6 hours of playtime, seamless Bluetooth pairing. So easy, so sturdy. You're going to love these. So whether you're making a really important call, doing a video chat, you don't have to worry. Nice noise isolating fit. There's no dangling wires or stems. Start well under $100, and for the price, you will find nothing better. Nothing. And I'm going to save you money right now. You go to buyraycon.com/Chad. You're going to save 15% on top of the massive savings. Buyraycon.com/Chad. Buyraycon.com/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
Don't let the Washington Beltway strangle you. This is where the exhausted majority comes to refuel, realign, and reevaluate. This is Chad Benson.
Families across the country are counting on us for the truth about the COVID-19 pandemic, especially since it is clear they will not get it from President Trump.
All right, Patty Murray. No relation to Anne Murray. Wouldn't it be better if Anne Murray was there? Oh, that'd be awesome. That'd be great. I'm waiting, as these hearing things go on today, I'm just trying to find any kind of fun throughout the day with this lunacy. Let's talk real stuff that matters to us, though. Sports. Are we going to get it back? Major League Baseball? Maybe. As it looks, they presented 82-game schedule. 50 players on the roster, 30 can be dressed for each game. No all-star game, but 14-team playoff, start July 4th. NBA?
I'm holding out hope. I think the players, they work so hard, and not be able to crown a champion and play playoff basketball this summer would be a bummer for so many players. And even though it'd be in not ideal conditions, I think that the league is going to do everything they can to get the government, the CDC behind them, and try to obey all the rules and still find a way to quarantine somewhere and get some games played. And I'm going to hold out that hope until otherwise.
That's Danny Ainge right there. Boston Celtic great. Currently the guy that runs the show over there is holding out hope. Can it happen?
The last hurdle, Scott, is going to be safety and health and some of the things you talked about. But there's no question Adam Silver, the owners, the Players Association, they want to play and they want to get this thing going, but they're not there yet.
No, they're not. And they are in a different position than baseball, because baseball has the strongest of all the unions. They've got the most power.
This week is going to get really ugly. I still think at the end of the day, after all the consternation of the fighting that's about to happen, that both parties recognize that being out on the field is better than the alternative. But to get there are a lot of things that they have to do to figure out first to try and get there. Chief among them, the financial aspect, and of course you can't look past the health and safety aspect either. And those are two absolute whoppers to have to deal with.
So you got two sides of it. And for baseball, because they haven't started, there are other things when it comes to contracts. All these players want to say, if we're playing a game, we want this year to count. Because that moves me 1 year closer to arbitration, where I'll make more money, and better yet, free agency, where I'll make a lot more money. So there are guarantees that are not health related, but financially related. That will be interesting. Because like the Dodgers, because I'm a Dodger fan, the Dodgers traded away a lot, and they got Mookie Betts, arguably the second best player in baseball. Nobody argues that Mike Trout's the best player in baseball. They got Mookie Betts. You're going to give up a lot to get somebody who you would hope take you to a championship. You're only going to play 82 games. He's a free agent at the end of the year. So there's a lot that's going to go into this, and they get it. They understand it. And they're going to play it tough. And they are the strongest of all the sports unions. There's no doubt that baseball is the strongest. And they're not afraid to scrub it. They're not. And they may. And they can always say, look, we tried to do everything we possibly could. We just didn't feel there was a safe way of doing it. So we walked away, and we figured we'd pick it up next year. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at us. You can text the program as well. They're arguing, they're fighting throughout the day, the night, into tomorrow, and forever about the virus. That's the way this is going to be. 20 years from now, we'll still be having hearings about this virus. 20 years. There's nonstop. Hearing after hearing. Whose fault was it? Was it your fault? Was it your fault? They're going to call the bat that originally had it. He's going to be up there. Do you know Donald Trump? Did he make you do it? Trump's going to be like, do you know Obama? Did he make you do it? Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Phase 1 will directly go into Phase 2, 3 in late spring and early summer. And if we are successful, we hope to know that in the late fall and early winter.
That's what people want to hear. Let's talk about the vaccine. Let's talk about therapeutics. Dr. Fauci, earlier in the committee hearings today. Those are the things that people want to hear. I don't want to hear about whose fault it was. Could we have done? Everybody, Monday morning quarterback is great. You know why they call it that? Because you can look there and go, hey, Tom Brady, you shouldn't have thrown the ball here. Hey, Tom Brady, you shouldn't have done this. Hey, if I were you, I would have done this. So I don't want to hear that. You guys are fighting over past and problems. I want solutions. Most people do. Don't care about this. You want to find blame because blame helps you politically. People want to know about what are you doing in the today and tomorrow that matters. And of course, what if?
There's no guarantee that the vaccine is actually going to be effective.
What happens then? Because New York Times is a big piece out on today talking about what could happen and how bad it could be. So you're telling me there's no guarantee that there's a vaccine. So if there's no guarantee there's a vaccine, then what? We stay in forever? No. People are going out. They're looking at the numbers. They're looking at the data. Some people are just, quote unquote, throwing caution into the wind. But the reality is this panic porn, this insanity, and some of this ridiculousness, it is overdone. Here's some of the data we do know. Doesn't really do a lot to children. Very few people under the age of 55 or 60, outside of having real issues medically, are going to die from this. If 20, 30, and 40-somethings who were seriously healthy started dying, that's the difference between this and the Spanish flu. You look at the Spanish flu, it affected people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s that were completely fine, completely healthy. That isn't this. So we get this. We're getting the data that matters. We're understanding who needs to be watched, isolated, and protected. And the rest of us are saying, okay, well, let's get on with our lives. Not saying that there aren't going to be people that die. Yeah, but there are people die every year from the flu than in their 20s and 30s. Well, it's not the same. And some of that is the ridiculousness of the way this thing's being counted. Elon Musk was on Joe Rogan, and this was spot on.
Then if somebody dies, was COVID a primary cause of the death or not? If somebody has COVID, gets eaten by a shark, we find their arm has COVID, it's going to get recorded as a COVID death.
And some of that's real. Some of that's absolutely real. He wasn't finished.
Like I said, something should be recorded as COVID only if it is somebody has been tested, has received a positive COVID test, not if they simply have symptoms, one of like 100 symptoms. And then if it is a COVID death, it must be separated. Was COVID a primary reason for death, or did they also have stage 3 cancer, heart disease, emphysema, and got hit by a bus and had COVID?
I think it's a fair question. But at the end of the day, each state is going to decide what to do. Remember, the feds can lay out guidelines, and you can blame Trump. Well, it went too early, went this, that, and the other, and Trump pushed for these. At the end of the day, every single state has their leader, which is their governor, and he or she will decide which way they go. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me. You can text the program as well. Love hearing from every single one of you. I do. This is interesting. We are going to have a vote in November for president. One thing we know is that there won't be Bernie Sanders, something he said about whether he'd ever run again.
I think it's very, very unlikely that I will be running for president ever again. And I think right now what the focus, I would say, not only of progressives, not only of Democrats, but a lot independents, moderate Republicans, has got to be how we come together to defeat this very dangerous president who is in office right now.
So he's not running, but somebody that is, of course, the man, the myth, the
make sure to make sense to, I'll put it another way. It makes no sense.
There you go. Biden. Is he ready for it? I mean, is he ready for it? One of the things that's going on is people asking, are you going to campaign? What's your deal?
I enjoy interfacing with people. I'm not trying to avoid it, but I'm trying to set an example as to how we should proceed in terms of dealing with this health and economic crisis.
And it's tough because he's not out there. Joke about him just being a dude inside of a basement. But it's hard to campaign when there's something going on. But for him, there's also the other side of it, which is good because the less you're out there doing stuff, the less gaffes there are.
Well, Trump has been dominating the media, as we all know, and Biden has not been in the spotlight, but that's going to shift. And when it shifts, Biden needs to perform. The bottom line is the candidate needs to be able to articulate a clear and convincing message. And particularly when it comes to the pandemic, he's not there yet.
No, he's not. He's not there yet at all. And it's easy to say Monday morning quarterback. You know, one of the things that helped Trump in the election was there was no track record. Oh, he had a personal track record. He had a lot of things that were, for some people, a big check, yes, and for other people, big check, no. But a political track record, there was none of that. Well, he's got a track record now, and he's facing the biggest thing that he is maybe any president outside of presidents who've had to go to war would ever face, which is this virus. So for him, that's bad, but it can also be good because he could turn it around and really potentially do something big. On the other side of things, you've got somebody like Biden who can just talk about, oh, these are all the great things I would have done. Like, I wouldn't have thrown an interception. I would have ran it in for a touchdown. We would have went for two. I would have hit the three-pointer. I would have passed there. I would have took the shot here because you're not in that position.
And it pains me to say this, but his performance in being able to come up with a compelling narrative and a passionate storyline that really is ready for primetime election season, he's just not there yet.
No, and I don't think he is. But he's also got a time to get himself ready. where he can practice, somewhat hide. And it's not really hiding because you can say, hey, this thing's going on. I can't get out there and shake people's hands and be a part of something big. I can't do any of those things because of what's going on, and I want to be responsible. And that's fair. It's absolutely fair. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. You can text the program as well. Love hearing from every single one of you. This is very interesting. I love interesting things. You know, I look around and it's, if you watch today, all of the stuff that's going on with like the hearings and the who can we place blame on, and it's just a very interesting thing to watch, even throughout the day. I was pointing out throughout the day that some people, like the Republicans in these hearings, they're not wearing masks. The Democrats are. And who was it? Tim Kaine, producer Phil, that looked like he got one of Birx's.
Looks like he borrowed his grandmother's scarf.
Yeah, like it was like, what is he wearing? Like he was going to rob Liberace. It's not very nice, Chad. But it's another one of those weird, like, partisan, nutty things that we are looking at in this political world of lunacy. Is who's wearing a mask and who's not wearing a mask. And it's, you know, how many tests are we going to have? How good are the tests that we had? I got tested last week. I was negative for the antibodies, and I was also negative for it. And I asked the doctor, I said, you're doing a lot of tests now. He goes, the first tests were awful. He said, the swabs, he goes, first of all, they're uncomfortable. Like they stick that giant, huge swab in your brain. Oh, God. And he goes, and secondly, they just weren't very accurate. So we switched over to blood test and some other stuff. They're much better. But he says most people are just curious. And the ones, because you'd be surprised when people's like, yeah, you've got the antibodies, or yeah, you've got it. And they have no idea. And I'm like, yeah, that is weird. But if we're talking about people, on average, a good majority of people, they tested a prison and they tested meat workers. And like 90% of them tested positive, and they were all majority of them were asymptomatic. They would never have known. But it's interesting to watch all of this stuff break down. The Democrats, Republicans, it's a virus. It doesn't go, oh man, I was totally going to attack that person, but it's a Democrat or it's a Republican or that person's gay or straight or pro-life, pro-choice, or it's just so, it's a stupid virus that we're fighting over and we're trying to place blame. And we have to make everything political, whether we wear a mask in a hearing or don't. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Feel free to tweet at me and text the program as well. How old is old? According to a new study, we now have the age. Chad Benson Show.
You go, boy.
This isn't about right or left. This is just about right and wrong.
Right you are, Chad. The Chad Benson Show.
Nationwide gas prices are rising as more Americans venture out of their homes. It's all about supply and demand. Across the country, regular unleaded rising 6 cents to $1.85 a gallon, according to the Energy Department. The biggest jump is in the Midwest, up 18 cents a gallon in the past week. The most expensive gas remains in California.
Of course it does. Can't go out. Gas is expensive, really expensive to live there. But it's sunny. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Producer Phil, are you noticing, because you and I have a drive, like Anthony's commute is all of 5-6 steps. So producer Anthony works out of the house. You and I, though, have a drive. Are you noticing more people on the road?
Not as yet, because obviously I come in early in the morning. When I go home, traffic is a little bit rough.
Yeah. See, I'm here from Phoenix. It's not bad. I'm still, like, I leave and I drive 75 or 80. You know, it's not a big deal. But I'm noticing it more and more When this first came down, it was like there was no traffic. I would drive like a mile and not see really anybody free. It was like a movie. And in the morning, all I saw were big rigs. Starting to see more and more people out. Starting to see more and more people doing certain things. We'll see. I mean, it's going to be very interesting to see over the coming weeks exactly how this thing unfolds. Are people still going to work from home for a portion of the time, which is what they're hoping for? And they're pushing that, hey, just because you can go to work doesn't mean you have to go in every day. And we're starting to see that now. We're bringing our reporters in. We only had a very skeleton crew. Everybody else was working at home. But now they're bringing in one or two during the day that have been working out of the house the last 6 weeks. And but a majority of them are still at home. So that's going to be interesting. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. According to a new poll. Now, I'm just going to say this. I am 49 years, and I always say 49 years young because I act like a 5-year-old at times as far as just happy and bouncy. I'm sure I annoy a lot of people, and it is what it is. That's me. But according to a new study, they know the age at which you feel old. The get off my lawn. According to Let's Get Checked, surveyed 2,000 Americans. Once you reach a certain age, it doesn't matter how you feel on the inside, you're old. It may sound, may sound a little early for some, but 57 is the age. 57. Declining health, 39%, was the number one age-related worry, followed by wrinkles, 36, weight gain, 36, gray hair, 35, and hair loss, 34. Others cited losing their ability to take care of oneself. Well, I think so. Age spots, being viewed as old, financial problems, and the loss of independence was only 19%. Despite many saying they're worried about their finances in old age, 45% admitted they aren't actively saving for retirement. Among the other 55% who are saving, the average participant saves about 19% of their monthly income. Even more fascinating, 34% of those who aren't saving for old age say they just can't bring themselves to imagine being old or to look that far in the future. So there you go. 57 is the age. I don't feel, I'm 49. I don't want to say I feel old because I don't. I mean, that's not there are things like when I go play soccer, obviously I'm 49 and knee injuries and like several other things. There's just things I, put on 20 pounds and went years without touching a ball, but I go out and I play every day, at least 4 days during the week and usually once on the weekend where I run for about 45 minutes. And they're just things I just can't do. It's not, I just can't do those things. But I don't feel like I'm like an old super fuddy-duddy. But I understand. I like when I talk to I talk to even some of the people around here at work who are in their 20s. And yeah, their music, it's like, because I've never been a big, huge music person. So it's never really been one of the things on my mind, like what's the hippest music. But I still act at times like I'm 15, and other times I act like I'm get off my lawn. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. If you take nothing away today, when it comes to any of the crap that was going on with the hearings and all of that stuff, I want you to understand there is one thing that you should absolutely listen to and think when we talk about all of this stuff, and it's what Fauci said about a vaccine.
There's no guarantee that the vaccine is actually going to be effective.
Most important thing he said, there's no guarantee. So when we look to reopen, we look to do stuff, a lot of this is going to be personal responsibility, and it's about living with this thing and facing it head on, I think is where we're going to end up going to get ourselves back out of it rather than hiding and hoping. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Have a wunderbar rest of your day. Go have yourself a taco. Night-night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.